Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Tuesday's Market Situation Report, and we do have a lot of situations to report on. Matthew Buckley, call sign Whiz, founder and CEO here at Top Gun Options. Saudi Arabia increasingly confident Iran launched oil attack. What is this, man bites dog news? Really love the idiots running around out there that said, hey, maybe Saudi Arabia blew themselves up to, cause a spike in oil. Maybe Israel did it to, with the election and maybe trying to get Netanyahu elected. You can throw all of those things up on the wall to see if they stick, and when they slide down with their sliminess and their stupidity, you get rid of them, and then you take a look at the real intelligence that says Iran did it, folks. They were launched, 20 drones from about 10 different sites. They also launched cruise missiles, folks, and they flew in at low altitude. They originated mostly in Iran and flew underneath their air defense systems, folks. What are we doing? Dow's down, 20 points. We're just hanging out here, folks. So not thrilled at all with the way the president's handling this. I get the guy's an isolationist, he's a nationalist, America first. Let's just, put up our walls and everybody just hang out here and screw the rest of the world. Sometimes I feel like that, folks. That's exactly the attitude we had in the late 30s and early 40s, wasn't it? That's a Europe problem. That whole Adolf dude, and Japan. That's an Asia problem. Until we got punched square in the face on Pearl Harbor. Why? Because of oil, and obviously the Germans steaming across Europe, and then England was going to fall. For God's sake, we'll throw you a couple destroyers. We'll lend you a couple of destroyers, right? You got to pay us for those things. And then we got dragged kicking and screaming into World War II. Here's the problem with the way the president is handling this, folks. This is new warfare. This is brand new asymmetric warfare. For the price of a cheap bunch of drones, you can do billions in damage, let alone kill thousands of people, folks. Why do you need 9/11 hijackers ever again? You don't need to pay them to go to flight school, which, of course, when they were in flight school here in Florida, which the FBI knew about, the flight instructors actually called the FBI, folks. Did you know this? The flight instructors called the FBI and said, hey, I got a bunch of Arab dudes taking flight training classes in the simulator. They don't want to know how to, you ready? They don't want to know how to take off or land. They just want to know how to fly and engage the autopilot and where the radios are. And how to turn the squawk off. Are you shitting me, FBI? Okay, we're on it. Let's go raid Roger Stone's house with 20 of us. My point being, folks, is warfare has completely changed. When Donald J. Trump let them shoot down one of our drones and him go, I'm not going to retaliate. It's just it's a drone. It ain't a dude. Because if we had attacked, we would have killed, an average of 150 Iranians. Those weren't going to be 150 Iranian kids or women, folks. There were going to be 150 Iranian military folks. And the last time I checked, President Trump, your administration has designated the IRGC as a terrorist organization, which I thought we went and killed terrorists. I thought we put drones over them and put Hellfire missiles into their car. Why is the head of the Iranian Republican Guard not dead? I'm sick of this, folks. Here's what his intransigence is doing. Now, I get the president, his press conference yesterday looked like it was ridiculous. It wasn't even a press conference. He was meeting with the premier or whatever his name was from Bahrain, and he's like, "We know who did it. Everybody knows who did it." Well, okay. So what are you telling Iran? Well, I didn't say Iran did it. It's just it's comical. The man's turning into a caricature of himself. Okay, he invited this, folks. When you make a market, when you say one drone equals 150 people, this is what the Iranians do. The Iranians are they're screaming for attention. The sanctions are working, right? They're stealing tankers. And oh, by the way, you didn't see this reported on the news. I reported it to you. They seized another tanker. So they attack Saudi Arabian oil fields. The last time I checked, when a sovereign nation attacks with military weaponry the infrastructure of another nation, it's war. So, hey, everybody up in New York, what if Canada, let's just say we're not best friends. Let's say Canada and the United States are absolute enemies, mortal enemies, and they fly 20 drones into New York and they knock out all the power in New York and riots and people. Start putting it in terms that you can understand, folks. How about this? Putin. Putin at troll level 11. Putin trolls the Saudis, offering to sell them the same missiles he already sold to Iran. So, hey, you guys got those Raytheon Patriot batteries, right? How'd they work out for you? Why don't you buy one of our S-400 systems? Maybe it'll shoot down the Iranian missiles that were shot. This is bizarro world, ladies and gentlemen. So, as Donald Trump sits on his hands and does nothing, Putin's like laughing about the attack and how this happened. So I ain't no warmonger, folks. I understand. I've been in the region a lot more than Donald Trump. I have combat sorties over Iraq. I've been stationed in Saudi Arabia. I was the mobile targeting officer in Riyadh. In the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, I sat behind a 2- and 3-star general, and they turned around and says, Whiz, what do we blow up? What are our targets at this point? That was me. That was my job, folks. I know this mindset. So the president just kind of punting on all of this looks weak to the Arab world. So first it was a drone. Now it's a drone attack. What happens next? Not punching these people in the face, not taking their face and slamming it into the pavement right now, folks, makes whatever they do next going to be worse. What if it's a huge attack on American installation or an airline or something like that, and hundreds of Americans are killed? How are you going to feel about the president's response so far? He should have responded for the first drone attack. I talk to buddies in the military that are very high ranking almost on a daily basis, and they are furious with the president's approach here. I get it. He wants to get us out of Afghanistan. He wants to get us out of Iraq. We are out of Iraq. Thank you, Obama, who created ISIS. But that's the problem, folks. When the United States pulls out, so to speak, you leave a vacuum and bad dudes take over. So Iran is getting it, right? They get Trump. He doesn't want a war. Nobody wants a war. Certainly the people in the military don't want a war. But we understand force and we understand the radical Islamic mindset. They don't negotiate, right? What happened to what's his nuts? Rouhani, Iran's supreme leader. There will be no talks with the U.S. at any level. Trump is still angling for a handshake at the United Nations in a couple weeks. Are you shitting me? This is the same dude that invited Al-Qaeda, the Taliban, to go to right around 9/11 to go to Camp freaking David. What did they do? We had another guy get killed today in Afghanistan, a Green Beret. God, man, until Valhalla, my brother. So they killed another one of our Army service personnel right before the talks, and he canceled it. Look what happens right before these talks. They blow up Saudi oil fields. This is the president has absolutely no clue what he's doing. I'm no John Bolton Warhawk, folks, but I understand more clearly than the president does. These ain't New York real estate developers, folks. This isn't a real estate deal. The man has zero military experience, and he's not listening to his commanding generals and his admirals. I know for a fact. I get he doesn't want to get dragged kicking and screaming. We're not going to get into another war, folks. You want to fight drones? Put 50 drones over Tehran and show live footage to the dear leader of his car and say, the next time you do something, I'm going to kill you. Right? He did this with the dear leader, eventually, of North Korea. He said, hey, man, I got joint strike fighters flying over North Korea right now. You blink, and I'm going to kill you. He needs to do this with Iran. He needs to do something, folks. The fact that the market's just fine and we're all kind of hanging out right here waiting for the Fed is insanity. The Saudis are sitting on their hands and they are itching to go here. China, of course, jumping in on the side with Russia and Iran. How dare you blame Iran for doing this? Okay, we see the flight paths from these drones from Iran. So let me get this straight. The Mossad or Saudi Arabia sent troops into Iran to launch drones to attack Saudi. I can't stand stupid people. The same type of 9/11 conspiracy theorists think this type of stuff. I get false flag attacks, folks. Adolf Hitler did a false flag attack into the Sudetenland in Poland to use as an excuse to invade Poland. I get it. Don't try and tangle me on military history or false flags, folks. I know what's going on with this, and the president's failing miserably. Chinese vice minister heads to Washington as trade talks focus broadens. A who? A freaking vice minister? Yay? So these dudes are coming here to kind of set the table for October. Who cares? Thank God. I think it's great. We have another bearish trade on FXI for the week here. Where's our FXI vertical? Up $900. We're up $900 in a day. Probably making $1,800 by Friday. We have a bullish spread on volatility. It's up about $300 right now, folks. You got to be long volatility and hang this market in this little bit of a hover pattern here, like short squeeze through the 50-day moving average, hover, big pop on what? Maybe we're talking in October, and then we're hanging here, folks. Tomorrow, the market is going to move big time. And in my opinion, if I had to flip a coin, and I'm not flipping a coin. I'm telling you, it's landing on its side, which means we're going down. Jerome Powell can only disappoint tomorrow. And obviously, in the wake of these attacks, the president's pounding the hell out of Jerome Powell even more to cut bigger. But this is not good. We had a repo. The New York Fed had to do a repo operation overnight, which isn't good. I can explain that at 1 o'clock in our primary live trade brief. But this is he. So let me read this. Why Fed officials aren't saying more about the rate outlook, the down the road? Why? Faced with rising uncertainty, Jerome Powell must toe the line between disappointing markets that expect more stimulus and overpromising steps that lack broad support. You guys know how I feel. I think not only Jerome Powell should be doing nothing tomorrow, he should actually be raising interest rates, period. Not because I'm a Bill Dudley, who's a traitor, a former Fed chief, New York Fed chief, saying that Powell should raise rates so he can screw the president so he doesn't get reelected. Bill Dudley's a human piece of feces. Okay, and he completely torpedoed the whole, the Fed's independent, non-political. Okay, pull this leg and it plays jingle bells. Ladies and gentlemen, I made this prediction last month or a month and a half ago-ish, right here. In here, I said the Fed can only let us down on that Wednesday. He got to the microphone and he let us down, and then the president jumped in the day later with both feet and caused this. The Fed is going to let us down tomorrow, folks. And how can the Fed not let us down? Well, Whiz, they cut bigger than expected, and maybe even they announced QE. Immediately, the market will go up. Well, I just thought you said, listen to me. If the Fed does more than we expect, that's bad. If the Fed does more than we expect, they're seeing bad out there. We think there's going to be war in the Middle East. We think the trade war is going to get worse. How's that bullish? Yeah, I get they can cut interest rates, but at the end of the day, folks, that's a shot of heroin, man. If the Fed does more than we think they're going to do tomorrow, it's going to be a shot of heroin, and then the hangover is going to be awful. There's a lot of bad out there, folks, a lot of potential bad out there, and it is not priced into this market. Once again, I'm going to pound this table, and I'm going to tell you it is absolutely time to get long volatility. We're going to talk about that in our primary live trade brief today at 1. Look at this. Look at this implosion in volatility, as if Jesus, Ganesh, Muhammad, and Buddha came back to life, and every peace, love, and understanding is broken out. We have potential war in the Middle East. We're in the middle of a massive trade war. And the VIX is down here at 14, 15. What are you, high? Get long volatility. When you hear me do this, when you hear me pound the table, when you hear me say this is nuts, sit up in your chair and pay attention and get long volatility. We're going to do a trade brief after the close. Yeah, after the close tomorrow on Wednesday. I'm gonna introduce our newest live trading service. Look at this. We already have 353 people registered for trading the Death Star. Take a look at your email address. If you're hearing this, or if you're seeing this SITREP, man, you have an email in your inbox that says, hey, register for tomorrow. So go ahead and register for tomorrow. I think we're probably gonna have 500-600 people in there. We're only taking about 20 people out of that. Okay, we cap out our services like Solo AMZN at 200 people because we're in go-to training and we like our members to be able to chat back and forth. So if you want to be one of the lucky, I got to look at the numbers, 20-ish new members that can sign up tomorrow, I'll see you after close tomorrow. All right, I got to get going. We have a 1 o'clock primary live trade brief, and then tonight at 7 p.m. we have our full throttle session number 5, which is bearish vertical spreads. Okay, have a great rest of your day. Happy hunting. Make sure you hedge, and God bless. I'll see you guys later.